Hey guys, what's up? Back with another video. Today we are back with the pay-per-view reviews, and today we are gonna do TNA Genesis from 2010. We got the Hulkster brother. We got the Hulkster brother right there. We got Kurt Angle and AJ Styles. Looks like he's looking at them like he's got them in their sunglasses right there. Looks like Hogan's looking at him up and down like, oh yeah. That's just me. That's just me thinking dirty thoughts as always. But anyway, let's do TNA Genesis. No time like the present. Let's get on with this. We kicked off with a Hulk Hogan and Eric Bischoff promo to kick you off with Genesis to basically welcome you to the pay-per-view, and basically cut a promo on the six-sided ring, about how it only got you so far, brother, and now we're taking you all the way, dude. So Hulk Hogan really pleasing himself with the TNA home hardcore audience. It was what it was. For me personally, I didn't think it was the best way to kick off the show, with Hogan kind of alienating a lot of the hardcore TNA fans. But hey, let's kick off with the actual show. After that, we had the X Division Championship on the line. We had the current X Division champion, Amazing Red, defending the championship against a mystery opponent, and that mystery opponent turned out to be Brian Kendrick. This was a solid opener right here for the X Division Championship. Very fast pace with a lot of hard hitting action. Brian Kendrick really brought it. Amazing Red really brought it too. He tried to ground Amazing Red at times. Really tried to ground Amazing Red with his, by taking out the knees of Amazing Red. But in the end, that wasn't enough, as Amazing Red would retain the X Division Championship. And this would kind of be the swan song for the Amazing Red in TNA, as he would lose the X Division Championship not long after this to Doug Williams, and wouldn't really reach this height of with TNA momentum. Wouldn't really reach the heights of with gold in TNA, as he would lose the X Division Championship not long afterwards. Anyway, next matchup. After we had a little bit of we had a segment involving Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, and Six Pack, where Six Pack and Scott Hall were debating on who's going to team up with Kevin Nash to face Beer Money, even though it was advertised as Scott Hall and Kevin Nash. It's a little bit of bollocks right there. They had a rock paper scissors battle to determine that, and we had to watch it live on pay-per-view. So good stuff right there, I guess. Not really. Next up, next up in ring action, we had Sean Morley, better known as Val Venus, taking on Christopher Daniels. This was a match. It wasn't really it wasn't a good match at all. It was just there. But the match was made better by the crowd, especially the hardcore TNA fans in the audience. There was a guy with a sign in the audience saying "Fallen Angel for World Champion 2010," and he slowly put that sign down towards the end of this match when Sean Morley got the win. I don't really get why they brought Sean Morley in. Like, he wasn't really in his prime at this point. Val Venus wasn't. It was kind of living off the porn star gimmick that he had in the 90s, but it was 2010. So, it didn't really work, and they had him beat Christopher Daniels here, and the crowd rejected it, and I kind of rejected it too, because I didn't think it was that good. I mean, Sean Morley / Val Venus wasn't really in shape here. It was kind of a bit blobby. Not to fat shame anyone, but it wasn't really in wrestling shape, and it just screamed sports entertainment to me, not professional wrestling. Which throughout the show, they were Hogan and Bischoff and Taz and Mike today were trying to scream it into your ears that this is where professional wrestling is. Sports entertainment is the other company. So it wasn't really with this and the rock paper scissors stuff, didn't really work for me. Anyway, as we move on to the next matchup, Tara takes on ODB for the Knockout Championship in a 2 out of 3 falls match. This was pretty fun stuff. ODB was pretty entertaining. Tara was alright too. Taz was very funny on commentary, talking about ODB and some of her mannerisms. Tara won 2 straight. It was a very solid, fun matchup, nothing to complain about. Next matchup, what's after that one? Next matchup, we had the British Invasion defending the tag team titles against not Beer Money. Okay, let me try that again. The British Invasion defending the TNA Tag Team Championships against Matt Morgan and Hernandez. This was pretty solid stuff. Pretty one-sided for my liking, though. There wasn't really any doubt that Matt Morgan and Hernandez were going to win this matchup. Felt like a changing of the guard, feel like with Hogan and Bischoff coming in, they kind of change, it's kind of a changing of the guard. Like, we want to go in this direction, where TNA before Hogan and Bischoff were coming in, we're going in another direction with the British Invasion. And you can kind of see it here as Matt Morgan and Hernandez kind of dominated this match, and they had a little bit of offense, the British Invasion did, but yeah, it was all about Matt Morgan and Hernandez, and they won the tag team titles, and we move on to the next match. It was a good match, but you could kind of see where the direction was going in the tag team division. Next match, we had an Abyss and Bobby Lashley segment, where Bobby Lashley refused to wrestle, and he went up to Bischoff to try to get himself out of the match, and Abyss was also in the locker room, and he attacked Bobby Lashley and hit him with a monitor and knocked him out. So Hulk Hogan gave Abyss another match. He rewarded Abyss for knocking out his a pay-per-view opponent by giving him another match, but with a mystery opponent, so we'd find out who that was a little bit later on. It was an alright segment. Next matchup, we had Desmond Wolfe taking on the Pope, D'Angelo Dinero. This was my match of the night so far in this, so far in the card. Very great limb work from Desmond Wolfe as he worked over Pope's knee, D'Angelo Dinero's knee. I'm going to call him D'Angelo Dinero because it seems funny calling him like the Pope. Like I can imagine the actual Pope, which brings me weird images in my mind of Desmond Wolfe working over the Pope's knee. Anyway, Desmond Wolfe, he did good. This is like the highest that Desmond Wolfe would get in this era of TNA, especially with Hulk Hogan running things. He would debut his new valet in Chelsea. She was a beautiful looking lady. Nice. How do I say this nicely? A nice behind, shall I say? She was not, she was very nice looking, and she would play a role in Desmond Wolfe's storylines going forward in TNA. But Pope, because of Pope's knee injury that he suffered in this match, Desmond Wolfe really took advantage of it, and Pope couldn't execute half his maneuvers because of the knee, and that's what led to Desmond Wolfe getting the victory over Pope. But Pope would have better nights. And he would get a little bit of a, it seemed like he would get the push coming out of this more than Desmond Wolfe, even though Desmond Wolfe was able to pick up the victory. After that match, we had the next match. We had Beer Money of Robert Roode and James Storm taking on the band of Six Pack and Kevin Nash. Very solid stuff here until the finish. Six Pack looked pretty good out there, considering that he was kind of an old school guy at this point. But yeah, Kevin Nash, it kind of reminded me of a lurking tree. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. He just looked like a very tall tree that was about to fall over at any point. And he did all right. He held up. He didn't fall over like a tree. But it was him. Bobby Roode and Six Pack really did some good stuff out there. But it really was let down by the finish when Scott Hall came out and kind of lurked his way to ringside and kind of beat up a fan. I guess it was a planted fan, not a real fan. But it kind of put the match, kind of took everyone's attention away from the match. And Kevin Nash got pinned with a 2-on-1 situation by Beer Money. But yeah, it wasn't really a good finish, and it didn't really make this new era of TNA. It kind of felt like same old shit with Six Pack, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Hulk Hogan, blah blah blah. It felt like old school WCW, and that's not a good thing when you're trying to promote it as a genesis of this new beginning of TNA. Very let down by the finish, but it was okay for the in-ring action was good between Bobby Roode and Six Pack, and James Storm for that matter. Next up, we had the Monster Abyss taking on the debuting mystery opponent, which ended up being Mr. Anderson. Sorry for deafing everybody there. We had Abyss versus Mr. Anderson. in the co-main event. Anderson looked pretty good. Physique-wise, looked pretty good. It was a very weird matchup. He didn't really fill me with joy to see Mr. Anderson wrestle. Him and Abyss went out there and he had a so-so match, not really anything to write home about or to go out your way and see, but it was an okay matchup. Mr. Anderson would get the win when Abyss would take his eye off the ball. He went to go to the hardcore route with the steel chair, and while the referee was getting the chair out the ring, and while the referee was distracted, Mr. Anderson pulled out some brass knuckles and would deck Abyss with the brass knuckles and get the win. So an alright debut for Mr. Anderson, but nothing to write home about. He would certainly have better matches, especially in the coming months after this, especially with the likes of Kurt Angle and that feud. So yeah, good stuff right there. Mr. Anderson and Kurt Angle, that's what I meant. Kurt Angle and Mr. Anderson would have really good stuff in the future. And then that brings us to the main event, which features the man himself, Kurt Angle, as he takes on the phenomenal AJ Styles for the TNA World Championship. Of course, Kurt Angle is the challenger, AJ is the champion. Very solid stuff. I remember when I saw that this match was the main event, I just sat back and relaxed because I was like, man, this is going to be a pretty cool half an hour. Kurt Angle, AJ Styles, half an hour left of the card, awesome stuff. It was a very solid matchup, which was unfortunately let down by the finish. It was a newsworthy finish, but to me, it just kind of took the air out of the balloon, so to speak, with the Ric Flair aspect, where Ric Flair came down and he was kind of lurking at ringside, and you're kind of wondering what was going on. And he came into play for the finish, where he gave AJ the belt, and AJ used it as a weapon to put down Kurt. And as I said, the match before the ending, it was a very solid matchup, but the ending kind of put a pop into the balloon, so to speak. It just kind of reminded me of that TNA era where, what was the things to come, where they tried to make AJ the next Ric Flair, and it kind of failed a little bit. It didn't fill me with, it just brought back a little bit of bad memories a little bit for that time period. But hey, it was a very solid main event, apart from the finish. It was a very newsworthy heel turn from AJ. And then we go on and beyond for TNA after that. So pretty newsworthy show, some solid stuff, some solid in-ring work, and some solid wrestling matches. But there was some finishes that kind of left me kind of going, But that was what it was. Anyway, I'm going to give this pay-per-view a 7 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good stuff to do. I think it was a perfect time to go back to this, especially with TNA going back to the name TNA, and it's kind of a new era in that company. So why not? I thought, why not go back and watch the new era of TNA back in 2010 with TNA Genesis. So anyway, guys, that's my review of TNA Genesis. Hope you enjoyed it. Tell me what you think in the comments. Leave me a like if you deserve it, and I'll see you guys in a bit. And I'm out.